sleepwalking in the Middle Ages wasn't just strange, it was terrifying. People who wandered at night were thought to be possessed, their souls temporarily freed from their bodies. Some muttered in Latin, others stepped over livestock without waking. The response? Exorcisms, protective charms, and sheer panic. Let's explore how medieval Europe interpreted this mysterious phenomenon, and how far we've come in understanding the sleeping mind. You wake at 2 a.m., but this isn't insomnia. The fire's nearly out and your bladder's full. You roll off the straw mattress, step over your younger brother, and shuffle toward the chamber pot. No one stirs. This midnight waking is routine. Historians call it segmented sleep, and until the 1800s, people across Europe considered it normal. You'd sleep around 4 hours, wake for an hour or two, then sleep again until dawn. Modern scientists studying circadian rhythms found that when deprived of artificial light, humans naturally revert to this pattern. That hour awake wasn't wasted. People prayed. The Catholic Church even had special midnight devotions called nocturnes. Some stoked fires or checked on livestock. Others used the time for intimacy. 16th century medical texts advised that conception was most likely during this watch period. The quiet darkness offered rare privacy in crowded households. No one panicked about being awake. They just peeled an apple, told stories, or eavesdropped on neighbors. Compare that to modern sleep anxiety. Today, waking at night sends people scrolling through sleep trackers, chugging melatonin, and diagnosing themselves with disorders. Medieval Europeans would find this baffling. For them, segmented sleep was as natural as breathing. The Industrial Revolution killed the habit. Factory whistles demanded unbroken rest, and gas lamps extended daylight artificially. Suddenly, waking at night meant inefficiency, not reflection. Your watch hour ends. The fire's banked, your prayers are muttered, and you climb back under that lice-ridden blanket. As you drift off, think about this. Your ancestors didn't fight their biology. They worked with it, turning wakefulness into a feature, not a bug. Tomorrow night, when you stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m., remember, you're not broken. You're medieval. Now consider where you're sleeping. The nobles a mile away aren't sharing beds with siblings or stepping over chamber pots. Their feather mattresses sit atop carved frames with curtains to block drafts. But even they wake at midnight. No social class escaped the two-sleep night. The differences lie in what surrounded them when they did. Your straw mattress isn't just scratchy. It's broadcasting your poverty to anyone who enters the room. In medieval Europe, beds were social climbing ladders. Peasants slept on sacks stuffed with whatever was nearby. Hay, leaves, or if they were lucky, wool scraps. These mattresses never stayed fluffy for long. Within weeks, they compacted into lumpy boards that smelled of sweat and damp. The average family shared one bed, adults and children packed together like spoons for warmth. You didn't sleep alone unless you were very rich or very punished. Move up the social ladder and beds became thrones. A merchant might afford a rope-strung frame to keep him off the dirt floor. Nobles slept on feather beds so thick they needed step stools to climb in. King Henry V owned a traveling bed with velvet curtains and carved posts that required 12 wagons to transport. But even luxury couldn't solve medieval problems. Bugs loved feather beds as much as humans did. Flea infestations didn't discriminate by class. The worst part wasn't the bugs or the crowding, it was the vulnerability. Every night you faced the same dangers whether you slept on straw or silk. Fire could trap you in your bedchamber. Thieves knew where to find you at your most defenseless. Rich families hung bed curtains not just for privacy, but because fabric blocked drafts that could carry illness. Those same curtains also muffled the sound of someone choking in their sleep, a common fate when respiratory diseases swept through towns. By the 1400s, beds became heirlooms. Aristocrats willed them to descendants like crowns. A good bed frame lasted generations, its wood darkening with age and spilled wine. The truly wealthy changed their sheets daily. If you owned enough linen, you could pretend the Middle Ages weren't filthy. Tonight, as you tuck yourself into a mattress that doesn't crunch when you move, remember this. Your ancestors would consider your solitary, clean, bug-free bed the pinnacle of luxury. They'd also wonder why you aren't sharing it with 3 relatives and a couple of farmhands. Of course, even the best bed needed protection from the cold. That's where the nightcap came in, but not the kind you're thinking of. That floppy hat you see in medieval paintings wasn't a costume. It was thermal armor. Nightcaps trapped body heat in drafty stone houses where temperatures could drop below freezing. Wool or linen ones covered ears completely, sometimes tied under the chin like a baby's bonnet. But these weren't just functional. The style, color, and fabric of your cap announced whether you were married, wealthy, or open to conversation. A red cap might signal an available woman in some regions, while white indicated a respectable wife. Inns turned these signals into survival tools. Travelers packed into shared rooms where sometimes 20 people slept in rows on straw pallets. Your cap became your do not disturb sign. Pull it down over your face and strangers knew not to poke you. Leave it perched high, and you might find someone striking up a conversation during the nighttime waking period. It was like medieval Bluetooth, broadcasting your status without words. Women's caps often included chin straps to prevent them from falling off during sleep. Some had extra padding for married women, mimicking the headdresses they wore during the day. Men's versions resembled modern knit caps but longer, sometimes with embroidered symbols showing their trade. The wealthiest could afford silk-lined versions that supposedly prevented baldness, medical advice being what it was in 1400. The inn's nighttime soundtrack wasn't soothing. Beyond the snores and rustling straw, you'd hear fistfights breaking out over stolen belongings. Travelers slept with their money belts still on, some using their boots as pillows. Chamber pots overflowed by midnight, adding their scent to the general reek of unwashed bodies and wet wool. No one undressed completely. Too cold, too dangerous. Your nightcap stayed on as your last line of defense against both chill and chaos. By morning, half the room would be missing small items. Those who slept too deeply might wake to find their boots or cloak gone. The caps remained, though, too personal to steal, like taking someone's toothbrush. They'd be crusted with sweat and lice eggs by week's end, but you'd keep wearing yours. Better itchy than dead from a draft. This constant nighttime vigilance took its toll. No wonder people saw sleep as cousin to death. You never knew what dangers might creep in while you rested. The church had solutions for that fear, prescribing prayers to armor the soul before bed. Because in the dark, with strangers snoring beside you and your coin sewn into your hatband, salvation mattered more than comfort. You kneel beside your flea-ridden mattress as dusk falls. The prayer you whisper isn't just routine. It's a defense against the very real chance you won't wake up. 1 in 3 medieval Europeans died before age 35, so bedtime became a rehearsal for the afterlife. Monks took this seriously, setting alarms for midnight prayers called vigils, where they'd rise to chant psalms on cold stone floors. Their rationale? Staying awake proved devotion, since sleep resembled death, and death could come any moment. The familiar "now I lay me down to sleep" prayer has roots in this era, though the medieval version was darker. Children memorized rhymes asking for protection against ghosts, goblins, and sudden death. Adults recited lengthier devotions, often while holding a candle, both spiritual light against darkness and practical light to check for rats in the bedding. These weren't empty rituals. People genuinely believed demons stalked the sleeping, waiting to steal souls from vulnerable bodies. Dreams terrified people because they seemed like prophecies. A baker might wake convinced his nightmare of burning bread meant his oven would collapse. Nobles paid scribes to record their dreams for interpretation. The church taught that some dreams were divine messages, others satanic deceptions. Telling the difference required priests and fasting. No one considered dreams just brain static. Your bedtime routine includes practical preparations too. You check the lock on your money chest, blow out the tallow candle, too expensive to burn all night, and position the chamber pot within reach. The straw mattress rustles as you lie down. Your last waking thought isn't about tomorrow's chores. It's whether the rattling in your lungs will worsen by morning. In a world without antibiotics, a minor cold could become a death sentence in days. Monastic sleep manuals advise lying on your right side to aid digestion and prevent vapors from rising to the brain. Modern sleep therapists would despair at medieval habits, uneven sleep segments, lumpy beds, existential dread before bed. Yet people adapted. They turned nighttime into a mix of devotion, practicality, and communal survival. When you wake tonight to check your phone, remember your ancestors woke too, but they checked their pulse instead of notifications. The medieval night wasn't restful, but it made sense for its time. The medieval night was alive with rustling straw, muttered prayers, and the constant awareness that sleep might become permanent. People embraced segmented sleep, itchy bedding, and lice-infested nightcaps, not because they wanted to, but because survival demanded it. Your ancestors didn't stress about sleep hygiene. They were too busy preventing frostbite and interpreting ominous dreams. Modern comforts have erased those challenges, but perhaps something was lost when we traded midnight contemplation for uninterrupted unconsciousness. Tonight, when you adjust your memory foam pillow, spare a thought for the generations who slept in shifts, fully dressed, ready to fight or pray at a moment's notice.